Hey everyone, what's going on? Greg here again from Team Blast. So when I onboard Google Ads accounts, one of the first things I always look at is the device breakdown to understand exactly where the spend is going, how many clicks we're getting, and also most importantly, how many leads or conversions we're getting. So to start, I'm looking at the entire 2026 year for one of the accounts that I have. They spent $1,200 plus on mobile clicks, and then that's resulted in 17 conversions for them, which is a cost per acquisition or CPA of $73. When you compare that to now desktop or computers or laptops, however you want to look at it, $146 have been spent same time period, and they've gotten four conversions from that. So the cost per acquisition is $37, much less than compared to a mobile device, which makes sense. Most of us who are on our phones, text messages come in. Like for me, for example, I don't save my credit card information to like do like a quick checkout. So I might go back to my desktop or something else like that. There's all these different reasons why it's harder to convert on mobile and makes sense that your cost per acquisition is much higher. When I look at the device summary within Google Ads, I always then break out the segment by network to see, okay, are we running search partners or anything else like that? In this particular case, we're only running Google search, which is actually really good. So we're having a really controlled Google Ads account that is only for Google search. So again, I can see all the device breakdown. Again, mobile, $73 plus for cost per conversion compared to computer, much less. This is what I do next. So now that I have an understanding, okay, this is how Google Ads is performing, I'll go into Google Analytics 4, and I'm going to have all traffic checked off by default. And I want to look to see how many conversions we're getting for mobile and desktop. Tablet is irrelevant at this point. They have zero, and there's also almost like no traffic. But for mobile, they've had 32 conversions, and then on desktop, they've had 80. So I can see that the sessions, though, are almost identical. So this again leads me to the point of, okay, got it. So in mobile, when you get like a mobile visit, it's not going to be as valuable compared to a desktop, just because generally the conversion rate is not going to be as good, and especially for paid search, we're going to have to spend essentially double what we're paying for a computer to get that one lead. So what do I do next? So now this isn't only these five, but I really want to highlight these. So I already talked about GA4 and Google Ads. You really need to understand that value. So when you're taking on an account or you're talking to your client, you know exactly their numbers and what to do next. Here's step number two. If the daily budget is limited, which I see, this quite a bit, I might onboard an account and they say, hey, we're only spending, let's say, 30 or 40 or $50 a day, and we're hitting our budget too early. This is where you might want to come in and decrease your mobile device bid adjustment. So you go from 0%, let's say, to negative 30%, because you're saying, okay, I'm still willing to get mobile clicks, but I want to reduce my auction bid. So if somebody then clicks on my ad, potentially I'm paying a little bit less than what I'm currently paying, because you're kind of devaluing your bid. If you're not really hitting your budget, though, one thing you can do is actually increase your budget bid for desktop, because the cost per acquisition is so much stronger for desktop compared to mobile. Maybe you're willing to spend a little bit more for that conversion or lead, but it won't actually equal what you're paying for within mobile. So therefore, you actually get a better cost per acquisition if you decrease one and increase the other. Take a step further, as I mentioned, have GA4. You can go into the data, but you can even take it a step further, and you can look at the conversion path summary, get an idea of how many assists paid search might have. They're not getting the final click attribution. That's also important too. So I mentioned that part with mobile. If I'm on my phone and I come to a website and I don't convert, but I come to it via desktop, like let's say if I email myself the link to finish it, you can actually potentially see that path within GA4. Not exactly one for one, but you can see like an aggregate view. That can actually be really helpful and say, okay, mobile doesn't always convert, but it did assist with a conversion. And if it did, you may not want to play around with those device settings then, because you don't want to lose out on that lead. Now, looking at the bottom row, discuss the CPA with your client, because you can do target CPA bidding when it comes to Google Ads, but I think it's really important to have that conversation. Say, okay, how much are we truly willing to bid for a cost per lead or cost per acquisition? Especially if there's like a recurring a revenue model behind it, you may want to spend actually a little bit more than your cost per acquisition, because if you can get that acquisition in the funnel and then they purchase, then there'll be compound revenue down the line, assuming that they stay with the product. So that's actually a really important conversation to have. You may want to adjust your CPA to get a little bit higher than your target to get more leads. And then finally, test. So I mentioned, you can do bid adjustments for mobile, you can do bid adjustments for desktop. There's a lot of things you can do to get really play around like with the settings with your budget. Maybe you increase your budget a little bit to see kind of what you can get from maybe like more desktop clicks, which can then lead to more leads. Maybe it's a higher CPA, but at the end of the day, you're not doubling your CPA because the conversion rate actually works better on desktop than it does on mobile. So you might sacrifice some of your CPA to get a little bit more conversions and a slightly increased cost if you're willing to do that bid adjustment. So anyway, I'll go back up to the very top. I think the main thing is this: when you look at mobile is $73 per lead, desktop is 37. You have a lot of options of what you can do next to get the most value from Google Ads, and it all comes down to device targeting. Anyway, thanks for watching this video and stay tuned for the next one.